In the winter of 1847, when the Atlantic winds struck the eastern coastline of the United States with a cold so sharp it felt like needles piercing exposed skin, a mysterious wooden chest washed ashore near Boston Harbor. Fishermen found it lodged between rocks, its surface burned, as though it had survived a fire before battling the raging sea. Inside the chest lay a collection of documents, journals, maps, coded letters, and strange artifacts, items that should not have existed together in the same place nor in the same century. Though dismissed as debris by local authorities, the chest was quietly taken by a Harvard historian named Dr. Elias Whitmore, who was convinced that the documents contained a hidden account of America's past, a version the nation had forgotten, or perhaps deliberately buried. Whitmore soon became obsessed. Every night in his dimly lit office, he pored over the cryptic pages, tracing the strange symbols that connected events across centuries. The journals referenced unknown voyages before Columbus, covert alliances among native tribes, secret battles during the Revolution, and a shadowy society that seemed to operate parallel to every major transformation of the young nation. As Whitmore deciphered more, he realized that the documents hinted at a storyline far deeper than the conventional narrative of America's founding. A story involving betrayal, lost civilizations, forbidding technologies, and men who shaped the nation from behind the curtain. But before Whitmore could publish any part of his findings, he vanished without explanation. The office he had worked in for 13 years was found empty except for a single note scribbled in haste. If you read this, know the truth is larger than the nation itself. What follows is the narrative reconstructed from Whitmore's missing documents, an extraordinary account revealing how America's fate nearly pivoted on the actions of individuals forgotten by history. This is the story of a man named Jonathan Hale, born in 1723 in the small colony of Massachusetts Bay, whose life intersected with both the visible and hidden threads of America's birth. Though his name never appeared in textbooks, though he signed no founding document or led no army, the documents suggest that Hale discovered something capable of altering the arc of the nation, something so consequential that powerful forces worked to erase his existence entirely. According to the earliest recovered journal, Hale's story began long before he understood his role in the world's transformation. As a boy, he was known for his sharp eyes, his uncanny memory, and a habit of wandering deep into the forests surrounding his village. These forests held stories older than the colonies themselves, stories whispered by the Wampanoag people who had lived on the land for generations. Hale often visited an elder named Wusamaquin, who shared legends of ancient travelers, of sky fires and lost stone cities, of alliances between tribes that predated European arrival by centuries. Though Hale's father disapproved of such friendships, calling them heathen tales, the boy felt drawn to mysteries buried in the soil and trees. When Hale was 12, a strange event shook his village. One night, a streak of fiery light cut across the sky, landing somewhere deep in the forest with a thunderous roar. While most villagers cowered indoors, Hale slipped out under the cover of darkness, following the smoke. He found a crater glowing faintly blue, and within it, a metallic object covered in symbols he had never seen. Before he could touch it, Wusamaquin appeared and pulled him away, warning that the object was sacred, a remnant of an ancient catastrophe. The elder told Hale never to speak of it, for if the wrong people learned of such power, it would bring destruction. Hale obeyed, but the memory of the strange metal haunted him for the rest of his life. Years passed, and tensions grew between the colonies and the British Crown. By the time Hale reached adulthood, unrest simmered across New England. The Stamp Act, the Boston Massacre, and the Tea Party set the stage for a rebellion that seemed inevitable. Hale, now a quiet blacksmith in Boston, found himself drawn into secret meetings held in taverns lit by flickering lanterns. Though not as outspoken as men like Samuel Adams or Paul Revere, Hale was valued for his ability to remember details with perfect clarity and for the quiet determination in his eyes. It was in one such meeting that he was approached by a clandestine group calling themselves the Sentinel Order, a society dedicated not only to independence from Britain, but to guarding ancient truths lost to time. The leader of the Sentinels, a man known only as the Architect, revealed to Hale that they had been watching him since childhood. They knew about the night of the fiery sky. They knew he had seen the object, and they believed he was destined to play a role in preventing an impending catastrophe, one that could arise if the British or any foreign power discovered the relics hidden across the continent. According to the architect, America was built on land filled with secrets, ruins, artifacts, and technologies left by civilizations far older than the tribes Europeans encountered. If these relics fell into the wrong hands, they could shift the balance of power on the entire continent and invite global conquest. Hale, skeptical yet intrigued, reluctantly agreed to join the order. Over the next months, he learned of coded maps concealed within colonial documents, of hidden chambers beneath Boston, of expeditions lost in the Appalachian Mountains. He also learned of the British intelligence network, which had caught whispers of an ancient power buried in the colonies and sought to claim it before the Revolution erupted. Hale's natural ability to observe and remember made him invaluable to the Sentinels, but it also placed a target on his back. In 1775, just weeks before the first shots at Lexington and Concord, Hale intercepted a secret British message indicating that General Thomas Gage had learned of a relic hidden somewhere near the Hudson River. If the British obtained it, they could crush the rebellion before it began. Hale was assigned to retrieve the relic first. Traveling under the guise of horse trader, he rode north into the wilderness, following hints left in centuries-old tribal legends and half-burned maps recovered from the chest that had washed ashore decades later. What he found did not match any colonial record. Deep in a cavern carved beneath the roots of a colossal oak tree lay an orb pulsating with soft blue light, the same color Hale remembered from the crater of his childhood. It was warm to the touch, humming with an energy that seemed alive. Usamaquin, now an old man, appeared once again as if expecting him. The elder explained that the orb was a memory stone, created by a civilization that vanished long before Columbus. It contained knowledge, astronomical, scientific, and historical, knowledge capable of reshaping nations. For centuries, native tribes had protected the stone, ensuring that no empire, neither European nor American, could exploit its power. But the British were closing in. Hale heard the crack of musket fire echo through the trees. Soldiers had tracked him. With no time to debate, Usamaquin urged Hale to flee with the orb and keep it hidden at all costs. As Hale escaped through a narrow passageway, British troops stormed the cavern. The elder remained behind, sacrificing himself to buy Hale time. Hale later wrote that he heard the cavern collapse under explosive charges, sealing the British inside along with the elder's body. For weeks, Hale traveled alone, evading patrols and surviving on the barest scraps. The orb became both his burden and his guide, glowing softly when danger approached. Eventually, he delivered it to the Sentinels, who hid it beneath an unmarked cellar in Philadelphia, mere blocks away from where Congress would one day declare independence. Yet even after securing the orb, Hale sensed that darker forces were moving through the colonies. British spies hunted relentlessly for the relic, and whispers spread of a traitor within the Sentinel Order itself. The documents revealed that Hale's final years were spent uncovering the identity of this traitor. He traveled from Boston to Virginia, from frontier settlements to native encampments, gathering fragments of truth. He discovered that the traitor was not a British agent, but a man within the Continental Congress, someone who believed that America's destiny required harnessing the power of the ancient civilization, even if it meant sacrificing lives. Hale confronted the man privately, leading to a struggle deep in an abandoned barn. The traitor died, but not before wounding Hale severely. The last journal entry ends abruptly, with blood smears marking the page. Hale staggered out of the barn that night, the cold Virginia air burning in his lungs as he pressed a shaking hand to the wound beneath his ribs. The moon hung low, veiled by thin clouds that cast the landscape in a pale, ghostly glow. He knew he had little time left before blood loss overtook him, yet an urgent instinct pushed him forward. The traitor's final words echoed in his mind, fragments about others who wanted the stone, forces far beyond the Congress or the Crown. Hale did not yet understand what that meant, but he sensed that the orb he had recovered was only one piece of a greater puzzle,
and that puzzle involved men who operated in darkness, untouched by allegiance to any nation. As he stumbled along the dirt road toward a small tavern where the sentinels often exchanged information, Hale felt the orb faintly pulsing inside the leather satchel at his side. He had taken it again from the hiding place before confronting the traitor, believing the threat was imminent. Now he wondered if that decision had doomed him. Every step sent pain shooting through his body, but he continued until lights from the tavern flickered in the distance. Just as he reached the door, his legs buckled. He collapsed in the mud, hearing muffled voices shouting as the world dimmed around him. When Hale awoke, he found himself lying on a crude wooden table in a candle-lit back room. His shirt had been cut open, and the wound bandaged with clean linen. The architect stood beside him, arms crossed, his normally composed face marked with worry. A woman Hale recognized as Anna Merriweather, a skilled healer and a covert operative of the order, leaned over him, tightening the bandages. She scolded him under her breath, calling him reckless. Hale tried to speak, but the architect raised a hand, urging him to save his strength. Hours later, when he could finally sit up, Hale recounted the confrontation with the traitor. The architect listened in silence, his expression unreadable. When Hale finished, the architect confessed that he had long suspected a conspiracy stretching beyond the colonies, but without proof he had been powerless to act. Now the revelation forced him to reconsider everything. The Sentinels had once been part of a much older network, one that guarded relics and records of the ancient civilization. But not all who inherited that legacy remained loyal to the mission. Some had splintered off, forming a separate faction known only as the Dominion. Their goal was not to protect the relics, but to harness their power to build a new empire, one free from moral restraint or democratic obligation. It was the Dominion, the architect believed, that had infiltrated the Congress, the Crown, and even foreign courts. They worked in shadows, sowing conflict to weaken nations so they could seize what lay beneath America's soil. Hale listened in disbelief as the architect explained that the orb was only one of several relics. Each piece held fragments of encoded knowledge, and only together could they unlock the full historical and technological secrets of the vanished civilization. While the Sentinels guarded them, the Dominion hunted them. And now, because Hale had drawn their attention by retrieving the orb, they would stop at nothing to find him. The architect insisted they must move the orb farther west, out of the colonies and into territories where the Dominion's reach was weaker. Hale, still recovering, volunteered to accompany the transport, fearing that if he stayed behind, the Dominion would return to finish him and take the orb. Though the architect hesitated, he eventually agreed, recognizing that Hale's bond with the relic made him uniquely suited to protect it. Within days, Hale and a small contingent of sentinels set out, traveling through mountain passes and dense forests. They avoided major settlements, choosing secret routes known only to trappers and scouts. Along the journey, Hale noticed the orb's behavior changing. It glowed more brightly at night and emitted soft vibrations whenever they neared certain rock formations or rivers. The sentinels speculated that the ancient civilization had embedded signals in the land itself, markers the orb could detect. Hale felt increasingly connected to the relic, as though it whispered faint impressions directly into his thoughts. Images of stone towers buried beneath mountains, of temples swallowed by forests, of stars mapped with impossible precision. The deeper they traveled, the more Hale realized that America's history was only one small chapter in a far older saga. Yet danger followed them at every turn. On a fog-covered morning near the Allegheny foothills, the group was ambushed. Figures emerged from the mist. Men dressed in black coats, silent and precise. They bore no insignia of army or nation. Hale understood immediately: Dominion agents. Gunfire erupted. Hale dove behind a fallen log, shielding the satchel as bullets ripped through tree bark. One sentinel fell, then another. Their attackers moved with unnatural coordination, as though guided by some unseen signal. Hale felt the orb pulse violently, as though reacting to their presence. In desperation, Hale fled into the forest, with Anna Merriweather beside him. They ran until their lungs burned, until the gunshots faded behind them. But the forest was treacherous, filled with steep ravines and thick underbrush. As they crossed a shallow creek, Hale slipped on wet stones and fell hard, the orb rolling from his grasp. Anna scrambled to retrieve it, but before she could, a Dominion agent appeared on the opposite bank, musket raised. Without hesitation, Anna threw herself in front of Hale as the shot rang out. She collapsed in the mud, and Hale caught her, shouting her name. With her last breath, she whispered for him to run, to keep the orb safe. Blinded by grief and fury, Hale grabbed the orb and stumbled deeper into the forest. He did not know how long he ran, perhaps hours, but eventually he reached a secluded valley surrounded by towering cliffs. Exhausted, he collapsed beside an enormous boulder carved with faint markings. As he touched the surface, the orb flared brightly, projecting a pattern of light onto the stone. Lines and symbols appeared, an ancient map revealing a hidden chamber beneath the valley floor. Before Hale could examine it further, he heard distant shouts. Dominion agents were still hunting him. With no time to waste, Hale searched the valley until he found a narrow crevice partially hidden by vines. He squeezed through, descending into darkness. The passage widened into a cavern illuminated by the orb's glow. At the center lay a circular platform engraved with spirals and constellations. As Hale stepped onto it, the cavern trembled, and a stone door sealed behind him, blocking the agent's pursuit. For the moment, he was safe. The cavern was far larger than it first appeared, stretching into a network of tunnels and chambers filled with artifacts, stone tablets, metallic fragments, skeletal remains unlike any Hale had seen, and colossal murals depicting the rise and fall of an ancient civilization. He wandered for hours, trying to decipher the imagery. One mural showed cities built into mountainsides, lit by beams of energy. Another depicted a great cataclysm, a sky filled with fire, oceans rising, structures collapsing. A third showed survivors scattering across the continent, leaving behind relics to warn future generations. The final mural revealed a prophecy. A new nation would rise upon the ruins of the old, and its fate would depend on whether it pursued knowledge or domination. At the end of the chamber sat a stone pedestal missing its top half. As Hale approached, the orb vibrated more intensely. Without thinking, he placed the orb into the hollow. A deep hum resonated through the cavern. The platform beneath him lit up, and symbols flowed across the floor like water. A column of light shot upward, illuminating an intricate device, part metal, part crystal, part unknown material. It resembled a star map combined with a mechanical engine. Hale realized this was one of the civilization's greatest creations, perhaps a tool for predicting celestial cycles or understanding geological events. He also understood why the Dominion wanted it. In the wrong hands, such knowledge could forge weapons or reshape borders. The orb unlocked only part of the device. Hale sensed that other relics were needed to activate it fully. He wondered how many existed and whether any had already fallen into the Dominion's grasp. But before he could explore further, the cavern shook violently. Stone dust rained from the ceiling. Dominion agents had broken through into the cavern. Hale had little choice. He removed the orb, causing the platform to dim, and fled through a tunnel leading deeper